Making sense of the X-Men timeline can be complicated, but when you focus just on Wolverine, the story gets a little easier to follow. From his bloody origin tale to his fateful final movie, here's Wolverine's cinematic story explained. The first chronological glimpse we get of the boy who grows up to become Wolverine is in 2009's X-Men Origins Wolverine, where we learn that his name isn't Logan at all. It's James Howlett. Logan is actually the surname of the man who murders James's father in 1845, which causes James's mutation to activate, pushing bone claws out from between his knuckles. Enraged, James kills Logan, only to almost immediately learn that the man was actually his biological father. Young James flees his home along with his half-brother, Victor Creed, who possesses the same mutant healing ability as James. That healing factor not only makes the boys practically impossible to kill, but also slows their aging, keeping them looking relatively youthful as they fight side by side through every major war over the next 100 years. In 2013's The Wolverine, we see that he spent some of his time in a Japanese POW camp in 1945. While he's there, James saves the life of Japanese officer Ichiro Yashida from the bombing of Nagasaki, an event which will prove important many years later. In X-Men First Class, Charles Xavier and Eric Lehnsherr, soon to be known as Professor X and Magneto, find themselves up against Nazi mutant Sebastian Shaw and his team of superpowered henchmen. Realizing they'll need some help to bring Shaw down, the duo uses Cerebro to find new mutants and form a team of their own, so in a zippy montage set in 1962, they recruit a handful of young mutants who wind up as the, well, first class of X-Men. Not everyone is eager to join up, though. When Eric and Charles walk into a bar, a cigar-smoking James Howlett tells them that he's not interested, using some language that ensured the movie would be a hard PG-13. While fighting together in the Vietnam War, an increasingly violent Victor assaults a woman and then kills the officer who tries to intervene. James rushes to his brother's aid without realizing what he's done, and both are sentenced to die by firing squad. Needless to say, the execution doesn't go according to plan. Their miraculous survival catches the eye of Major William Stryker, and Victor and James are recruited to his Black Ops team of mutants, Team X, which also includes a version of Wade Wilson, better known as Deadpool, that we all do our best to just not talk about.
Hey, it's me! Don't scratch!
It's at this point that James starts going by the alias Logan, after the father he killed so many decades before. Logan and Victor work with Team X for several years, but ultimately Logan decides he can no longer stomach the team's callous disdain for human life. He quits Team X, but Victor decides to stay, and the two part ways. 6 years after walking away from Team X, Logan is working as a lumberjack in the Canadian Rockies, but is pulled back into Stryker's world after Victor murders Logan's girlfriend, Kayla Silverfox. Stryker tells him Victor has gone rogue, and he asks Logan to join the Weapon X program, giving him a chance to get his revenge on Victor by undergoing an experimental procedure that will fuse an unbreakable metal called adamantium to his skeleton. Wolverine agrees after requesting new dog tags with the alias Wolverine. Thanks to the healing factor that allows him to survive, the procedure is a success. Stryker never intended to let Logan go free once it was completed, but Logan manages to escape. When he learns that Victor is kidnapping young mutants for Stryker, Logan returns to free them and get his revenge. The young mutants are flown to safety by Charles Xavier while Logan and Victor fight, first against each other, then together against Deadpool. Once Wade is defeated, Victor leaves, but before Logan can get out, Stryker shoots him in the head with an adamantium bullet. Logan survives, but when he regains consciousness, he can't remember his past. Set in the year 2003, X-Men reveals Logan living as a cage fighter in Canada, still missing most of his memories but using the alias Wolverine, thanks to the dog tags he got from Weapon X. He meets young mutant Runaway Rogue, and they're attacked on the road by Victor, who's now called Sabretooth. Curiously, neither brother seems to have any memory of the other, and unlike Wolverine, Sabretooth looks like a completely different person now. While Sabretooth has the upper hand, Wolverine and Rogue are rescued by Storm and Cyclops and taken to Charles Xavier's mansion, where they join the X-Men. Together with the X-Men, Wolverine fights Magneto and his Brotherhood of Mutants. The bad guys want to use Rogue's abilities to power a device that will turn baseline humans into mutants in response to a proposed law that would require mutants to register with the government. The X-Men manage to foil Magneto's plot, overcoming both the Brotherhood and some pretty rough dialogue.
Do you know what happens to a toad when it's struck by lightning? The same thing that happens to everything else.
The X-Men's victory leads to Magneto's imprisonment, but the tension between mutants and humans remains. Occurring not long after the events of X-Men, X2, X-Men United opens with a mutant assassination attempt on the President of the United States, causing relations between mutants and the US government to become rockier than ever. William Stryker, now much older than the last time we saw him, receives permission from the President to investigate Xavier, but it's really a ruse so that Stryker can force Xavier to use Cerebro to destroy all mutants. The X-Men travel to Stryker's base underneath an abandoned military installation, and when Logan enters the room where he received his adamantium skeleton, some of his memories return. He attacks Stryker, demanding to know why the military man did this to him, and he's shocked when Stryker reveals that Logan volunteered for the Weapon X program. Logan refrains from killing his old foe, but Stryker ultimately meets his end when a nearby dam bursts, drowning him. Meanwhile, the X-Men have managed to overcome both Stryker's people and Magneto, who tried to double-cross them. In the process, their plane is damaged, leading Jean Grey, with whom Logan has fallen in love, to telekinetically lift the plane to safety while holding back the lake. Once her team is safe, she gets swept away by the rushing water. At the beginning of X-Men: The Last Stand, set in 2006, Cyclops goes to visit what he thinks is Jean's final resting place. But she's not dead. Naturally, he's overjoyed to learn that she's still alive, but his delight is short-lived when Jean unceremoniously kills him. Xavier sends Logan and Storm to investigate, and they're horrified to learn that Jean has been taken over by a destructive power called the Phoenix. Meanwhile, a so-called cure for mutants has been discovered, and Magneto rebuilds his Brotherhood of Mutants to oppose it. Feeling betrayed by Xavier, who suppressed the Phoenix when she was a child, Jean kills her mentor and joins with Magneto, but don't worry, Xavier is only mostly dead. Magneto and the Brotherhood attack the lab where the cure is held, but during the battle, Jean loses control of the Phoenix and begins indiscriminately destroying everything around her. Thanks to his healing ability, Logan is the only one who's able to get close to Jean. In a moment of lucidity, she asks Logan to save her, and he claws into her chest, killing her and ending the destruction.
I love you.
Set in 2013, the Wolverine finds Logan back in the Canadian wilderness, still agonizing over killing Jean when he's contacted on behalf of Ichiro Yashida, the man he saved back in 1945. The message is delivered by Yukio, a mutant who has the ability to foresee people's deaths and who has had a vision about Wolverine.
I see you on your back. There's blood everywhere. You're holding your own heart in your hand.
While in Japan, Logan realizes that Yashida didn't ask him there to say farewell. Instead, he wants to steal Logan's immortality and live forever. Logan loses his adamantium claws battling Yashida, but he manages to defeat him using his regenerated bone claws. After the fight, Logan leaves Japan accompanied by Yukio. In a mid-credits scene set 2 years later, Magneto and a very much alive Charles Xavier approach Logan in an airport to tell him of a new threat to wipe out all mutants. X-Men: Days of Future Past opens in the year 2023, when mutants have been driven to near extinction by the robotic Sentinels. Along with Xavier, Storm, and Magneto, Logan, who miraculously has his adamantium claws back, has managed to elude the Sentinels long enough to form a plan. With the future already beyond repair, they decide to use Kitty Pryde's mutant ability to send Logan's consciousness back to 1973 to stop the events that led to the creation of the Sentinels in the first place, kind of like in the first Terminator. They hope that, if he's successful, the timeline will reset, placing them all in an alternate version of 2023. Using his 1973 body piloted by his 2023 consciousness, Logan joins forces with the younger Xavier and his X-Men to prevent the assassination that paves the way for the Sentinel program. Although Logan succeeds in his mission, he's horribly injured in the process, with his mangled body sinking to the bottom of the Potomac River. However, Logan's 2023 consciousness doesn't stick around long enough to learn how he survives. As soon as he changes the future, he returns to an alternate 2023. In this new timeline, Logan is now a teacher in Xavier's school, where many of the X-Men who died in the primary timeline are now alive again, including Jean Grey. After completing his mission in Days of Future Past, Logan's maimed body is recovered by a team led by a person who appears to be Stryker, but is revealed to be Mystique. In X-Men Apocalypse, it seems that Logan somehow wound up back under the real Stryker's control anyway. In yet another new timeline, he never escaped the Weapon X program after gaining his adamantium skeleton in 1979. The X-Men come upon this alternate version of Logan, who's still being called Weapon X and has no memory of his true identity, when they infiltrate Stryker's facility in 1983. After Wolverine slaughters many of Stryker's soldiers, Jean Grey manages to restore some of his memories. Logan runs out into the cold, and Cyclops speculates that they'll never see him again. Presumably, Jean's intervention paves the way for Logan to still join the X-Men at some point down the road, leading to the happy timeline we saw in Days of Future Past. Or maybe not. The Wolverine we meet in Logan is a much older, more beaten-down version of the character than moviegoers had seen before. After living for nearly 2 centuries, Logan's healing ability is finally beginning to fail, and he's growing increasingly ill from adamantium poisoning. This future version of Logan is working as a limo driver and caring for an ailing Charles Xavier, and he carries around an adamantium bullet, pondering the possibility of ending his own life. Despite the happy future Logan returned to at the end of Days of Future Past, we learned that most mutants, including the X-Men, have been wiped out anyway. It wasn't the government this time, though. A few years before the start of the film, Xavier lost control of his powers and inadvertently killed the rest of the X-Men, a fact which Logan remembers, but Charles has mercifully forgotten.
I did something. Something unspeakable.
In 2029, Logan encounters a young girl named Laura, whose powers mirror his own. This kid is determined to get to a mutant sanctuary in North Dakota called Eden. Charles persuades Logan to take her there, and the three embark on the journey together. Along the way, they learn that Laura was created using Logan's DNA as part of the villainous Transigen program. Unfortunately, that DNA was also used to create X-24, a vicious clone that looks exactly like Logan did in his prime. Before they can reach Eden, X-24 kills Charles, but Logan and Laura manage to escape. Laura convinces Logan to continue on to Eden, and when they get there, they find the other mutant children who've escaped Transigen. Laura and the kids make plans to escape into Canada, but before they can, they're attacked by Transigen soldiers and X-24. The children defeat the soldiers, but Logan is no match for his new and improved clone, who impales him on a fallen tree. Before X-24 can finish him off, Laura shoots him in the head with Logan's adamantium bullet. Logan dies holding Laura's hand, metaphorically fulfilling Yukio's vision that he would die with his heart in his hand. Laura and the other mutant children escape to Canada, leaving behind Wolverine's grave, which is marked with an X. Check out one of our newest videos right here. Plus, even more Looper videos about your favorite movies are coming soon. Subscribe to our YouTube channel and hit the bell so you don't miss a single one.